With me now on my left, Norman Tiger cross-country coach Pat Lennington, one of his top girl performers, Gretchen Wilson, and one of his top boy performers, Monty Deere. Yesterday, or this past Friday, the Norman 6-mile relays was run. That's one of the top relays for cross-country in this area. Most of the best high school teams in the state were there, plus a team from Dallas, and it's a big event, and the Tigers ran very, very well in it.
Yes, we were really impressed with our girls' times. They set a meet record by over a minute, so all of them ran very well. Our second team even was third overall, so we feel we had a very strong showing.
And the boys didn't do too badly either. They finished in the top 5, finishing third.
Right. They had a hard time, a little bit more difficult than the girls, but they still pulled through. A strong finish by Monty there at the last pulled them through.
Now, Gretchen and Monty, this is a different type of cross-country thing. Usually it's all total individuals, and now all of a sudden it's a big relay thing. It has to be, I would think, a little more fun than some of the races you're running in. Wouldn't it be? Go ahead.
I enjoyed it more. I don't know. It seemed like there was a lot less pressure in a relay, and not as many people to run against, and we didn't have to start out in a big bunch. I kind of enjoyed it more than a regular race.
Yeah, I would think it'd be a little more fun, just so you can give the gloves or whatever you're handing off to somebody. It's usually hand off a baton on track, and all of a sudden I'm out there, you're handing off gloves. But Gretchen, that has to take a little pressure off of you, and at least you can cheer for somebody else. Usually you're running along, you can't talk to anybody because you're too exhausted. At least at this point, you can at least cheer and help out your teammates.
Yeah, that's the best part. That's what I like the most, is just being able to cheer for everyone and help everyone else and everything.
You know, when you talk about cross country, it's one of the most demanding sports individually. Gretchen, just how much time do you put in running every day, and how many miles do you get in?
Well, right now we're running about 7 or 8 miles a day, and that's just in the afternoons, and it usually takes about an hour and a half or so total time.
And Monty, is this mileage going to increase as the season gets longer and longer, or will you cut down some?
Well, right now we just started running in the morning and in the afternoon, and we're up to, what, 12 miles a day or so now, total. And I think we'll build up to a few more miles in the morning and a couple more miles in the afternoon. Then down about, in the middle of October, we'll start decreasing a little bit, trying to peak for the regional and state meet.
Now, the Norman Tigers year in and year out have maybe the top reputation in terms of cross-country across the state. The Tiger girls are always challenging, as the boys are, for state honors individually and as a team. And Pat, you've built up quite a program with the boys and the girls. Every year the Tigers are top challengers, and the Tigers are one of the teams that everybody looks at as one of the favorites in both the boys and the girls.
We've been fortunate to have some runners with a lot of ability come through, and I feel that's been our big key. And it hasn't let down this year, although I thought it might, but particularly for the boys. It seems that we've got more out than ever. We probably have twice as many out this year, so that's really impressive also.
When you look across the state in the boys and the girls divisions, how did the Tigers shape up against other competition?
Well, we've been doing very well. Probably yesterday we ran against the best teams in the state, and we've been able to be very competitive. The girls, when they've been at full strength, haven't lost. So we've been doing pretty well, and we hope to continue doing as well as we have been.
Well, the Tigers ran very well in the Tiger 6-mile relays out at the OU Duck Pond. We're going to show you some video highlights, and be sure to try to get out and see as many Tiger cross-country meets as you possibly can, because they do have an excellent team in both the boys and the girls.
All right, this is the start of the Tiger 6-mile relays. As we see, Gretchen Wilson's pulled out to a little bit of a lead there. She's a returning All-Stater from last year, and she ran a super leg here to open up. The first runner runs a mile, and she had the fastest time by about 30 seconds that we've run on this first leg. Patty Pendarvis here and Jennifer Nolte are running our JV teams, opening up with a mile. Patty was 13th, I believe, last year at the state meet. The mile leg, Gretchen, Patty, and Jennifer will hand off to a half-miler for the second leg. There will be 5 legs altogether. The third leg will run a mile and a half, the fourth leg another mile, and then the anchor leg will run 2 miles. This is Patty again. She's opened up a little bit of a lead here, coming up to the first half mile of her mile leg. All right, Gretchen just handed off to Kelly Fredwin, a new runner for us this year. She's running the half-mile leg. Here comes Patty in. She will hand off to Melanie Smith, a freshman that's out for the first time for us this year. She will also run a half-mile leg. This is the start of the mile-and-a-half leg, and Kathy Gill showed a great deal of strength and determination, although she ran with a great deal of pain. Her knees had been bothering her and also her shoulder. The other runner will make up a little bit of time on her, but at least it showed her determination and dedication just to go ahead and finish, although she was in a great deal of pain. She's also a returning All-Stater for us, although she's just a sophomore. Nina Zinner is running the mile-and-a-half leg for our second team. She was our tiebreaker last year at the state meet, and she also ran a very strong leg to pull our girls back up. She just passes a Moore girl here, and she will get close to the other JV teams that had pulled out to a little bit of a lead. All right, here's Kathy closing in on the mile mark. She still has a half mile to go, and her pace has slowed down just a little bit, and you can tell that she's not at full strength. And there's Nina Zinner going up just after the mile mark. All right, now we've handed off virtually dead even with Moore. And Mary Brady, running our fourth leg, runs a super mile time to give us a pretty substantial lead. She'll come by here, and she's only run a little over a quarter of a mile, but already she's opened up a pretty good lead after being almost even at the exchange. Mary is a new runner for us this year, and she is a freshman, but she has outstanding credentials already, being one of the top distance runners around. She's been bothered a little bit so far this season with twisted ankle. Here's Marion Hess coming in now with our second team, and she's pulled up, and we're about to take the lead in this race. Also, our JV team came in third, our varsity team came in first, and Mary Brady's about to hand off now to another freshman who ran the 2 mile anchor leg for us and ran a very, very strong race to hold off Moore here, Laura McCloy. It's even more significant that she was able to hold off the Moore runner, Laura Blackburn, who's probably the best returning cross-country runner from last year, at least as far as the girls are concerned. Laura is so far undefeated this season. She's won 2 invitational races, and she ran a very strong leg here on our relay team running the 2 mile. Our second team was just there, Jenny Benz. She's another of our returnees from last year, and she also ran a very strong leg to pull us up to third place overall, really, for our second team. Our first team was, of course, first, and our second team pulled up third overall. So it was a very strong showing by our girls. We must also point out that our second team started 30 seconds behind the varsity team, so there wouldn't be any great mixture, and their distance is magnified just a little bit more than it really is by that 30-second interval. Here's second place, Laura Blackburn, finishing for Moore. Laura actually extended the lead a little bit on her, and here comes Jenny in third place overall for our second team. Jenny was 17th last year at the state meet for us. All right, here's the start of the boys' race. Our first legs will be run by a sophomore for us, Kerry Brady, Mary's brother, and he ran a very strong leg to get us up in there against all those varsity runners. And here's the JV race for the boys starting out. The opening mile for us on that one was run by Mark Ward. All right, here's the handoff with 1.5 miles, and an outstanding runner for us so far, Mark Busick, really ran a super leg for us here to pull us back into contention, really pull us up to about third place that we were able to hold on then and win third place in the boys division. This is Kevin Corbett running for our second team on the boys side. Mark's made a great deal of improvement. You can see that we had 4 or 5 teams there to contend with. We'll pull away from several of them on his leg. We also had quite a crowd there to watch the relays. It's a lot of fun, and everybody gets to run around after they finish and cheer for their teammates, try to pull them on the first 3 teams or their trophy teams. So they like to see if they can help cheer their team on to pull into the trophy standings. Here's Kevin Corbett running for our second team. He also ran a strong leg, and I believe he catches this boy in front of him. Mike Summers running the 1.5 miles for the third team, and Mark Fentress running 1.5 mile leg for our fourth team. Both of those boys are freshmen, so we're looking for a lot from them. All right, our fourth leg, Mark Winter, a senior for us, kind of new to cross country, but is doing an outstanding job. Here's another new boy for our team, Brian Anderson, running the fourth leg for our second team. Eric Olivo is running for our third team. I believe he's on the mile leg right now. He's a fine senior runner for us. Altogether, the team had 5 runners. So we didn't have quite as many varsity runners running as we normally do. Scott Evans, just coming by there, is a new runner for us, and he's a sophomore. And here's our anchor leg coming in. Monty Deere had to hold off a lot of runners, and he ran a very, very strong race, pulling away from about 4 teams there so that we would be able to finish in third place. Mike Whitmore finishing anchor for our second team. He's one of our varsity performers from last year. Lance Gabbard, a new runner for us, coming in just barely being nipped. He ran anchor for our third.
With me now is Norman Tiger cross-country coach Pat Lennington. And once again, Pat, the girls won a state championship. The boys finished a strong 7th. Another successful cross-country season for you.
Well, I was real pleased with the results, looking at everything. The girls probably should have been undefeated, but we kind of split the squad up early in the year, or they would have been. But they beat something like 77 teams over the course of the year, so that's a pretty good record. The boys, incidentally, beat 73 teams, so that's good, especially considering how many people we really wound up with that had even any varsity experience from last year.
The boys ran against some great competition. You had one all-state performer in Monty Deere, and I know you had some injuries that really crippled your team early, but yet I think they put together a pretty good season all in all, considering all they had going up against.
Well, that's true, and on the boys' side, we really haven't had, I guess we had one year we had 2 all-staters, but other than that, we have really just had usually 1 a year, but Mark almost got all-state, and just missed it probably by about 2 or 3 yards, so we feel that really lucky to finish as high as we did. We lost Mike Whitmore, which probably would have made the difference of 40 or 50 points in the state meet alone.
Now for the girls, the Tigers had great balance all season long. You never knew who really was going to finish in the top spot for the Norman girls in any meet that you entered.
Well, we had probably the strongest 4 or 5 girls that we've had since I've been here, or since girls have had cross country.
And it really was the big difference at the state meet. Our girls were just so strong, and it took that because Edmond was a lot stronger this year. Their 7 girls were right behind our first 4. So we had to have everybody up there to even have a shot at winning. And the girls all performed very well at the state meet. They came from really a little bit behind the Edmond team, but that's what we kind of planned on, not to lose our composure and get too far out in front and run too fast at the first and not be able to finish strong, and it worked out very fine for us.
Talk about some of the individuals for the girls who ran well in the state meet. Talk about the state meet in particular.
Well, we had Laura McCloy, who was a new runner for us, but she's not new to track or to distance running, but she came up a very strong race and finished second, and a little surprising coming out her first year. Now, our second finisher, Kathy Gill and Gretchen Wilson, both were all-staters from last year, and we had counted rather heavily on them. Mary Brady faded just a little bit. I counted on a little bit stronger finish from her, but she had some problems with the hills, and she also had some ailments that I didn't know about at that time, so she ran strong considering her condition. So those 4 really had to pull us through, and then Jenny Bentz, off and on, has had various injuries, and she came through to be our 5th place, just about where we needed her.
And most of these girls are very, very young, and they'll come back next season.
We only lose off the varsity, the top 7. We lose Gretchen Wilson, who's been either 2 or 3 year all-stater for us, and Nina Zinner, who was our 7th place runner this year. We've got some other performers coming up from the JV that because our team was so strong, they were varsity last year, but they were not able to make it this year, so they'll help us next year too.
Again, Pat, congratulations on a successful cross-country season.
Thank you very much.
Pat Lennington, the head coach of the Norman Tiger cross-country team.
With Oklahoma's 75th birthday coming up, it's time to tell the rest of the world about our great state. We're a proud people, and we have a right to be. We got everything: deserts, lakes, hills, the prettiest girls, the ugliest men, and some handsome ones, too. Oklahoma gave the world Carl Albert, Paul Harvey, Will Rogers, Gene Autry, dozens of great athletes, 5 astronauts, and just a few outlaws. If we aren't the biggest, we are the best. But just you wait. We're really going to be bragging during Oklahoma's Diamond Jubilee celebration. Of course, it's not bragging if it's true.
The Oklahoma Diamond Jubilee, celebrating 75 years of Oklahoma statehood.